The city of Zythera Prime glimmered under a violet sky. Floating crystal spires rose high above the clouds, reflecting the soft light of 3 suns. Ships of all shapes and sizes zipped between the towers, leaving trails of color behind them like ribbons in the wind. It was a city that seemed impossible, yet entirely real. A place that promised wonder, adventure, and challenges no human had ever faced before. Commander Jace Arden stepped off the transport shuttle, trying to calm his racing heart. He had trained for years for this mission, humanity's first real attempt at interstellar diplomacy. But despite all his training, he felt small. Humans were the newcomers here, awkward and strange compared to the Zytherans, whose tall, crystalline bodies shimmered in every direction. Their eyes glowed softly, and their voices sang like wind chimes. They were elegant, precise, and utterly alien. Jace adjusted his uniform and glanced at the mission brief in his hand. Today, he was to attend a formal dinner with the Zytheran Council, a chance to impress the delegation and show that humans could be worthy allies. The dinner was at the Crystal Courtyard, a restaurant perched on a spire so high it brushed the clouds. As he entered, he felt the weight of every eye on him. Zytherans moved with a rhythm humans could never match. Their long limbs floated gracefully, their heads tilting with subtle gestures of respect. Jace swallowed hard. He had rehearsed greetings in his mind hundreds of times, yet when the moment came, words felt clumsy in his mouth. A Zytheran waiter glided toward him, holding a menu that shimmered with colors and shapes he couldn't even name. "Welcome, human," the waiter said, his voice melodic yet distant. "Tonight we offer the finest of Zytheran cuisine. You may choose freely, but understand that some flavors are intense." Jace nodded, trying to smile. "Thank you. I'll do my best." He was seated beside Lyra, the Zytheran cultural liaison. Her crystal eyes sparkled with curiosity, and her voice was gentle, but precise. "Humans are unusual," she said, tilting her head. "Your species seems to embrace chaos with elegance." Jace chuckled nervously. "I like to think of it as flexible creativity." The dinner began well enough. The first dish arrived, a glowing orb that floated above the plate and hummed softly. Jace stared at it for a moment, unsure how to eat it. Lyra demonstrated, carefully slicing a small piece with her delicate crystalline fingers and bringing it to her lips. "Ah," Jace whispered, copying her movements. He bit into the orb and immediately felt a strange tingle that raced up his arm. The orb expanded slightly, then released a small, harmless spark. Smoke curled upward, and the taste was unlike anything Jace had ever experienced. He coughed. "Oh, that's spicy," he managed to say, waving a hand to clear the smoke. Lyra's expression flickered with surprise, but she quickly recovered. "Humans are brave," she said, her tone half amused, half curious. "Most beings would not attempt the orb of fire without preparation." Jace smiled sheepishly, but before he could say anything else, the next dish arrived. It was a delicate tangle of energy threads, meant to be eaten with a single, precise gesture. Jace, eager to impress, reached out with too much confidence. The threads reacted instantly, wrapping around his fingers, sending sparks across the table. A small explosion popped in front of him, singeing the edge of the tablecloth. Gasps echoed around the room. Jace's face turned bright red. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. You insult our food," a Zytheran elder exclaimed, though his tone carried more shock than anger. Jace froze. He had practiced diplomacy, memorized etiquette, and studied Zytheran culture for months. Yet here he was, failing spectacularly. Every eye in the restaurant turned toward him. He could feel the judgment pressing down, heavy and unyielding. Lyra placed a calm hand on his arm, lowering her voice. "It's okay," she said softly, almost to herself. "He is human. They learn differently." But it was too late. The dishes were ruined, the table a mess, and Jace had the sinking feeling that this mission might already be a disaster. He stood, trying to bow politely, when a soft voice stopped him. "I would have stayed." Jace turned, startled. A human woman in the background smiled at him. She was a waitress, part of the support crew assigned to assist the human delegation. Her hair was tied back in a simple braid, and her eyes held a warmth that cut through his embarrassment. She had seen his failures, witnessed his humiliation, and yet, her words were not judgment. They were encouragement. What?" Jace stammered, unsure if he had heard her correctly. "I said, I would have stayed," she repeated, leaning slightly closer so only he could hear. "You didn't give up. You kept trying, even when everything went wrong." Jace blinked. Something inside him shifted. He had been focused on perfection, on following rules and impressing others. But her words reminded him of something he had almost forgotten. Humans had a unique strength. They could fail, adapt, and try again. He managed a small smile. "Thanks. I think I needed to hear that." The waitress gave a knowing nod, then returned to her duties. Jace watched her move gracefully among the tables, carrying plates and drinks with ease, helping others without hesitation. She seemed ordinary, yet she embodied something extraordinary: confidence in human potential, even in the face of alien perfection. For the first time that evening, Jace felt a spark of hope. Maybe humanity didn't need to impress Zytherans by copying them perfectly. Maybe their value lay in what they did differently, their creativity, adaptability, and courage. He took a deep breath, straightened his uniform, and returned to his seat beside Lyra. She raised an eyebrow, sensing the change. "You look more confident," she said. "I realized something," Jace admitted. "Humans aren't perfect, but we can do things in ways no one else can. And sometimes, that's enough." Lyra considered this for a moment, then smiled faintly. "Perhaps. We shall see if your species can prove it." The rest of the dinner continued, cautiously but without further disasters. Jace still struggled with the alien cuisine and their subtle customs, but he focused on listening, observing, and adapting. Every misstep became a learning experience. Every awkward pause a chance to understand Zytherans better. By the end of the night, Jace left the crystal courtyard with a bruised ego but a growing sense of determination. Humanity had been tested, and while the dinner had been a failure in one sense, it had sparked something more important: the realization that humans had strengths the aliens could not understand. Outside, the violet sky stretched endlessly, and the crystal spires glittered like stars in daylight. Jace took a deep breath of the cool, alien air. Somewhere among the stars, he thought, humans would make their mark. And if one kind, encouraging whisper could spark courage in him tonight, perhaps humanity's potential was far greater than anyone realized. The universe was vast, strange, and intimidating, but Jace Arden was no longer afraid. He had failed spectacularly and survived. And that failure itself was proof that humans had something remarkable: the ability to rise again, stronger than before. And in that moment, as the stars shimmered above Zythera Prime, Jace knew that this was only the beginning. The morning after the disastrous dinner, Jace Arden woke to the soft hum of Zythera Prime. The city had a rhythm of its own, a gentle pulse of energy flowing through the crystal spires, carrying light and sound like invisible rivers. Humans had never seen anything like it, and Jace often found himself staring out the window of their quarters, marveling at the impossible beauty surrounding him. But today, he was not here to marvel. He had work to do. Mara, the human waitress who had whispered words of encouragement the night before, appeared at his door with a tray of steaming beverages. "Morning, Commander," she said, setting the tray down. You survived last night. That's impressive, considering the circumstances. Jace smiled weakly. I survived. Yes, but I don't think the council sees it that way. Mara shrugged. They don't need to. They only need to see results. And results, Commander, are something humans are good at. Jace raised an eyebrow. Good at? After last night, you still think we're good at anything? I think we're good at what we do differently, Mara replied simply. You'll see. Her words lingered in his mind as he prepared for the day. Unlike the Zytherans, humans did not rely on rigid rules or perfect execution. They thrived in unpredictability, turning mistakes into solutions, improvising when plans failed. Perhaps that was the advantage he needed. The council had assigned him and a small human team a new challenge: to enhance the failing energy conduits of one of Zythera Prime's tallest spires. The conduits powered the floating city, keeping the spire stable, the lights glowing, and the transportation lines running. A failure here could create chaos, a literal collapse of civilization. Most Zytherans would follow protocol exactly, moving slowly and cautiously. Jace, however, saw opportunity. We don't have to follow their methods, he said to Mara as they walked toward the spire. We can think differently. If we combine their technology with human creativity, we might do more than just fix it. We might improve it. Mara smiled. That's the spirit. Let's show them what humans can do. As they arrived, a team of Zytheran engineers stood waiting, their glowing eyes examining the human crew with quiet skepticism. Their tools hovered in the air, precise and elegant, ready to perform operations that humans would consider impossible. But their precision came with a cost. They were slow, deliberate, and inflexible. Jace knelt beside a control panel, studying the conduits. His mind raced. He noticed small vibrations the Zytheran sensors had overlooked, tiny fluctuations in energy patterns. The humans could adapt to these, reroute the conduits dynamically, and stabilize the flow, something the Zytherans could not do without breaking protocol. Commander, one of the Zytheran engineers said, the readings are within safe limits. We can proceed slowly and methodically. It is safer. End of I3. Jace shook his head. Slow won't work. If the flow spikes again, the spire could destabilize. We need a quick adjustment. Humans have a way to improvise in real time. The engineer's crystal body flickered with confusion. Improvisation was not a word in their vocabulary, but Jace pressed on. He and Mara worked quickly, using a combination of human intuition and the alien technology at hand. They rewired circuits on the fly, rerouted excess energy through temporary conduits, and even used holographic projections to predict energy surges before they happened. Mara handed him tools with precision, anticipating his next move before he asked. You think too much, Commander, she teased. Sometimes, you just need to act. Jace grinned. Sometimes, that's all humans have, and it works. By mid-afternoon, the energy flow had stabilized. The spire, which had wavered dangerously, now glowed brighter than ever, its light reflecting across the city. The Zytheran engineers stared in awe. They had never seen such unorthodox methods succeed. One elder stepped forward, his eyes glowing more intensely than the others. You, humans, he said slowly. Your approach is unpredictable, yet effective. It is remarkable. Jace allowed himself a small smile. That's humans for you. We can't do what you do perfectly, but we can find solutions in ways you wouldn't imagine. Number 4. 8-9. Mara nudged him gently. See? That whisper last night wasn't just words. It was a reminder. Humans adapt, even when everything seems impossible. The rest of the day was spent refining their methods. Jace introduced small experiments. Minor changes to conduit angles, rerouting energy flows through alternative paths, and using human logic to anticipate problems, the Zytheran's rigid systems could not. The aliens began to take note, their skepticism slowly turning into fascination. By evening, the team gathered atop the spire. The view was breathtaking. The city below shimmered like liquid glass, lights reflecting in every direction. Jace stood beside Mara, feeling a surge of pride not just for himself, but for humanity as a whole. "Do you think they'll ever understand us?" he asked quietly. "They already do," Mara replied. "They just don't know it yet." Jace glanced at the alien engineers below. Their expressions were cautious, but curious. The same beings who had doubted humans the day before now watched them, with a mixture of respect and wonder. Perhaps this was the first step toward proving humanity's worth not by imitation, but by embracing what made them unique. That night, as Jace returned to his quarters, he thought about the dinner disaster. What had seemed like failure now felt like a necessary lesson. Humans were not flawless. They stumbled, made mistakes, and sometimes embarrassed themselves. But in every error, there was an opportunity to learn, adapt, and innovate. And innovation, he realized, was something the Zytherans could not fully comprehend. The next morning, Jace and Mara were summoned to the council. The alien leaders were curious about the methods humans had used to stabilize the spire. They asked questions, observed experiments, and challenged Jace to explain his reasoning. "It is unconventional," one elder said, his voice tinged with both caution and intrigue. "Your species does not follow protocol, yet achieves results. Why?" Jace took a deep breath. "Humans adapt. We make mistakes, but we learn quickly. We don't rely only on rules, we rely on creativity, observation, and persistence. Sometimes the rules themselves are the problem. Humans find another way." The council members exchanged quiet glances, their glow flickering in subtle shades of approval and surprise. Mara stood beside Jace, a silent witness to his courage, smiling with pride. By the end of the session, the Zytheran leaders had not only acknowledged human ingenuity, they were intrigued by it. Some even asked if humans could help with other projects, ones the Zytherans had long considered too risky to attempt. Jace left the council chamber with a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had made its first real mark on Zythera Prime, not through flawless execution, but through daring, clever thinking. Back in the quarters, Mara handed him a simple cup of tea. "You did well today," she said softly. "You showed them that humans are not just survivors. We are creators, problem solvers, and risk takers." Jace sipped the tea, feeling the warmth spread through him. He thought about the galaxy beyond Zythera Prime, the stars, the planets, the civilizations humans had yet to meet. If humans could impress the Zytherans with nothing more than adaptability and courage, what could they achieve next? Mara looked at him expectantly. "Tomorrow," she said, "we take on something bigger, something they think humans cannot handle. Are you ready?" Jace smiled, a sense of determination burning in his chest. "We'll handle it. Humans always do." And for the first time since arriving on Zythera Prime, Jace Arden felt a quiet certainty. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of opportunities. And humanity, with all its flaws and brilliance, was ready to rise to meet them. The stars outside his window twinkled, reflecting in the crystal spires below. Somewhere among them, humans would leave a mark, not just of survival, but of triumph. And it would begin here, on Zythera Prime, with creativity, courage, and the unshakable human spirit. The morning sun rose over Zythera Prime, casting long violet beams across the city's crystal spires. The air shimmered with energy, and the floating platforms hummed softly as ships drifted between them. Jace Arden stood on one of the upper terraces, looking down at the city below. Humanity had already proven its potential by stabilizing the spire, but today's challenge was far greater. A Zytheran messenger approached, gliding effortlessly through the air. Commander Arden, the voice chimed, melodic yet precise. The Council has requested your presence immediately. There is a situation. Jace's heart quickened. Situation? He asked. The messenger's glowing eyes flickered. An orbital station, the Arcadia, is failing. It orbits the star above Zethera Prime. The systems are destabilizing. No Zetheran protocol has worked to restore it. The Council requests your species' intervention. Jace's stomach tightened. The Arcadia was a massive station, home to thousands of beings and critical research facilities. If it failed, the consequences would be catastrophic. Most Zytherans would follow procedure slowly, carefully analyzing every problem, but Jace knew humans had a different approach. They could improvise, adapt, and take risks when needed. He turned to Mara, who had joined him at the terrace. This is it, he said. This is the real test. We can't just stabilize the station, we have to do it fast, and we don't have the luxury of their slow procedures. Mara's eyes sparkled. I've been waiting for this. Let's show them what humans can do. Han Si, our god. The shuttle ride to the Arcadia was tense. Alarms echoed inside the station, warning of failing systems, fluctuating energy fields, and a deteriorating orbital path. Zytheran engineers had tried everything, but the complex network of conduits, reactors, and life support systems had resisted every method. Jace and his team arrived. Their human intuition, their only guide. First things first, Jace said, surveying the situation. We need to identify the unstable systems and stabilize them temporarily, then reroute power using what we have. The Zytheran approach relies on rules they can't improvise. We can. Mine. The Zytheran lead engineer, whose crystalline body glowed faintly with tension, blinked at him. Your methods are unusual. Are you certain? Jace nodded. We don't have certainty. We have adaptability. That's what humans excel at. Mara handed him a toolkit adapted for human hands. Let's get started. The team split into smaller units. Jace led the main effort in the reactor core, while Mara coordinated power rerouting from the station's outer modules. Humans worked differently. They observed patterns, guessed outcomes, and adjusted on the fly. Every mistake was a lesson. Every improvisation was a new solution. At one point, a conduit overload threatened to blow a section of the station. A Zytheran engineer froze, waiting for the prescribed protocol. Jace acted instinctively, using a human-designed emergency clamp to redirect energy. Sparks flew, and the room lit up in temporary chaos. But the conduit stabilized. The engineer's eyes widened. Remarkable. They acted without hesitation, yet succeeded. 5, 1, 1. Jace allowed himself a small smile but didn't relax. The station was far from safe. Systems continued to fluctuate. Sensors flickered, and life support warnings echoed in the background. Time was critical. Mara joined him at the reactor core. Commander, the outer modules are holding, but there's a feedback loop that could destabilize the entire station. Jace studied the holographic display. The feedback loop was complex, intertwining multiple systems in a way no Zytheran algorithm could untangle quickly. We'll have to think differently, he said. Humans don't follow algorithms, we create new paths. He gestured to Mara, who immediately understood. They rerouted excess energy through an improvised network of auxiliary conduits, using temporary stabilizers and human logic to anticipate surges before they happened. Sparks and flares erupted. Alarms screamed. But step by step, the system began to calm. Hours passed, the humans working tirelessly, combining observation, intuition, and improvisation. Zytheran engineers watched, sometimes assisting but mostly stunned by the human team's speed and creativity. Jace's voice echoed through the control room. Adjust the secondary relay by 5 degrees. Now, reverse the polarity. That's it. Hold. The tension was unbearable. One wrong move could destroy the station. But Jace trusted his team. Humans thrived under pressure. They could think on their feet when the situation demanded it. Finally, with a last careful adjustment, the Arcadia stabilized. Alarms silenced, lights returned to normal, and the station's orbit settled into a safe trajectory. Relief washed over everyone. Zytheran engineers looked at each other, their glowing eyes wide with disbelief and admiration. The lead elder stepped forward, his voice trembling slightly with awe. I cannot believe this. Your species has saved the Arcadia, where our methods failed. You, humans, have done the impossible. Jace wiped sweat from his brow and nodded. Humans don't always follow the rules, but we adapt and we never give up. That's what made this possible. Mara leaned against him, smiling. And that's why I said I would have stayed, she whispered. Even when things seemed hopeless, we keep going. That's human strength. The elder studied her briefly, then nodded slowly. Indeed. There is something in your species, something unpredictable, yet powerful. You have courage, ingenuity, and determination beyond measure. Word spread quickly through Zythera Prime. Humans had not only stabilized a critical station, but had done so in a way that no Zytheran protocol could explain. It was not mere luck or accident. It was skill, creativity, and daring. Humanity had shown what it could do when faced with impossible odds. Back at the human quarters, Jace and Mara debriefed. The adrenaline of success still pulsed through them. You were incredible today, Mara said. You led the team, made decisions, and stayed calm under pressure. Jace shook his head. It wasn't just me. It was all of us. Humans survive because we trust each other and think fast. That's what made the difference. Mara nodded. And don't forget, humans also thrive on hope. Even in chaos, we believe we can find a way. Jace smiled. She was right. Hope, combined with creativity and courage, had saved the station. Humanity's strengths were not in perfection, but in flexibility, persistence, and the ability to act when rules failed. The next morning, the council summoned him again. This time, their tone was different, less skeptical, more curious. Commander Arden, the lead elder said, humans are extraordinary. We have watched your species in action. You do not follow our methods, yet you succeed. Why? Jace met their glowing gaze steadily. Humans adapt. We fail. We learn. We try again. When logic fails, when rules fail, humans create new paths. That is who we are. That is what makes us strong. There was a pause. A quiet moment where alien and human perspectives met. Then, the elder's glow intensified. Perhaps, it is time for Zytherans to consider a new way. Your species has lessons we cannot ignore. Jace felt a surge of pride, but he also felt the weight of responsibility. Humanity had proven itself, but the galaxy was vast, full of challenges far greater than a single station. They had shown potential, yes, but the real test of human ingenuity was just beginning. That evening, Jace and Mara stood together on a balcony, looking out over the glowing city. The stars above Zythera Prime sparkled like diamonds, endless and untouchable, yet filled with possibilities. Do you think they will accept humans now? Jace asked. Mara smiled softly. They already have. But it won't be easy. The galaxy doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who act. And humans, we act. Jace nodded, feeling a quiet determination grow inside him. Humanity had faced disaster and succeeded. They had stood against impossible odds and prevailed, and they would continue to rise, wherever the stars might lead them. The future was uncertain, dangerous, and vast. But for the first time, Jace Arden felt certain of one thing: humanity, with its courage, creativity, and unyielding spirit, was ready to take its place among the stars. The city of Zythera Prime sparkled like a jewel beneath the light of 3 suns. The crystal spires reflected every color imaginable, casting long, shimmering shadows across the city below. From high above, Jace Arden could see the patterns of energy flowing through the floating platforms, the transport lines, and the spires themselves, a web of light and life that sustained the entire metropolis. It had been weeks since humanity's daring interventions, stabilizing the spire and saving the Arcadia station. The Council of Zythera had observed the humans with growing interest, no longer treating them as unpredictable children, but as a species with remarkable potential. Today, however, the challenge was unlike any they had faced before. A rival faction of Zytherans, known as the Obsidian Circle, had begun testing the humans' limits. They were conservative, strict, and obsessed with control. When the humans' successes became public knowledge, the Circle challenged them. An unstable orbital array, one designed to manipulate energy currents around Zythera Prime, was failing. No Zytheran had dared touch it in decades, fearing catastrophe. The Council had presented the problem to Jace and his team. "If your species can succeed here," the lead elder said, "you will have proven that humanity is not only capable, but essential to Zytheran progress." Jace stared at the holographic projection of the orbital array. The problem was complex energy conduits intertwined, feedback loops unpredictable, and the array itself unstable enough to threaten the entire upper atmosphere of the city. Failure could be devastating. Mara appeared at his side, carrying a tablet with preliminary scans. "This is it," she said. "No rules, no rigid methods. We'll have to rely on humans' best skills: improvisation, courage, and teamwork." Jace nodded. "Let's begin." The humans boarded a specialized shuttle designed to navigate the unstable array. Zytheran engineers followed cautiously, observing every human move. As the shuttle reached the core of the array, alarms blared. Energy spikes threatened to tear conduits apart, and some sections of the array were already floating free, risking collision with other components. Jace took a deep breath. "Mara, start with the stabilizers. I'll reroute the main conduits. Everyone else, monitor the feedback loops and be ready to adjust." The human team moved quickly, adapting to the situation in real time. Unlike the Zytherans, who relied on exact procedures, humans used intuition and creativity. When a conduit threatened to collapse, they used auxiliary materials on the shuttle to create temporary supports. When energy surged unpredictably, they improvised new paths, rerouting flows in ways no algorithm could predict. A Zytheran engineer muttered in disbelief. Their methods, chaotic, yet effective. How? Jace didn't answer. He simply focused, trusting the human instinct that had saved them before. Mara's steady hands moved alongside his, anticipating the next step before he even gave it. Together, they became a seamless team, human intuition guiding every movement. Halfway through the operation, a massive surge erupted in the central node. Sparks and energy waves shot out, threatening the shuttle. The Zytherans froze, unsure how to react. Jace acted instantly, using a human-designed energy dampener and a temporary power reroute. Sparks flew. The shuttle rocked violently, but the surge was contained. Mara clapped him on the shoulder. "Nice thinking," she said. "Humans don't panic. We act." Hours passed, the humans working tirelessly, combining observation, improvisation, and courage. Even when components failed, they adapted, replacing them with makeshift solutions. The Zytherans watched in awe as humans took risks, calculated chances, and turned each near disaster into success. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the orbital array stabilized. Energy flows returned to normal. Conduits locked into position, and the once unstable array now hummed smoothly in orbit above Zythera Prime. The council convened immediately. The Obsidian Circle, usually scornful and dismissive, studied the humans with surprise. "Impossible," one member said. "No being could have done this without strict protocols." Yet, it stands. Jace stepped forward. "Humans succeed because we adapt, learn, and act. We don't rely only on rules. We see possibilities where others see failure. That is what allows us to face impossible odds and survive." Mara stood beside him, her calm presence reinforcing his words. "And we trust each other. Humans know that teamwork, creativity, and courage are stronger than rigid control." The council was silent for a long moment. Then the lead elder's eyes glowed brighter, a sign of approval and deep respect. "Your species is extraordinary. You do not follow our methods, yet you succeed where our most skilled engineers cannot. You have shown us that ingenuity, courage, and determination are powers in themselves." The Obsidian Circle, though reluctant, nodded. Even they could not deny the humans' achievements. Humanity had proven its worth, not by following alien rules, but by showing what made them unique. That evening, Jace and Mara returned to the human quarters. They were exhausted but exhilarated. Humanity had faced a challenge no one else dared attempt, and triumphed. Mara poured 2 cups of tea. "You know," she said, "tonight isn't just about what we did. It's about what we've shown them about humans." Jace smiled. "They've seen that humans are more than survival instincts. We're creators, problem solvers, and thinkers. We can take risks and succeed, and we don't give up, even when failure seems certain." Mara raised her cup. "To humans, the species that refuses to quit." Jace clinked his cup with hers. "And to the galaxy, there's so much more ahead of us." The next day, the council made an announcement. Humans would be recognized as official partners in Zythran development programs. Their ingenuity and adaptability would be considered assets in future projects, their methods studied, and their successes celebrated. Jace and Mara stood on a balcony overlooking the city as the announcement spread. The citizens below, both humans and Zytherans, gathered to watch the lights of the spires dance in celebration. For the first time, humans were no longer the new, awkward species trying to find their place. They were innovators, problem solvers, and leaders. "Do you think they'll truly accept us?" Jace asked, looking at the glowing city. "They already have," Mara replied. "But it won't stop there. Humans have proven one thing. We don't need to follow the rules to succeed. The galaxy will take notice soon enough." Jace's gaze drifted to the stars beyond Zythera Prime. Endless points of light, planets, and systems awaited. He felt a thrill of possibility. Humans had survived their first trials in the galaxy, and now they had the chance to shape their future. They could explore, create, and influence civilizations with courage, creativity, and heart. Mara stood silently beside him. "Do you remember what I said the first night?" she asked. Jace chuckled softly. "I would have stayed." She nodded. That was more than encouragement. It was a reminder. Humans endure, act, and succeed even when all seems lost. That's why we're here. That's why we'll thrive. Jace smiled, feeling a sense of completeness he had never known. Humanity had stumbled, adapted, and now stood taller than ever, earning respect not just for their technology or skill, but for their spirit. They had shown the galaxy what it meant to be human. Bold, resourceful, and unbreakable. As night fell over Zythera Prime, the city shimmered like a living constellation. The humans and their allies watched from the spires. Knowing this was only the beginning, the galaxy was vast, full of dangers and mysteries, but humanity had proven it could face them with courage, creativity, and determination. And in that moment, Jace Arden understood what Mara had always known. The galaxy might test them, challenge them, and even doubt them, but humans would endure. They would rise again and again, turning failures into triumphs, and proving that nothing could stop the audacity, ingenuity, and heart of humanity. The stars above Zythera Prime twinkled like promises. Humanity was ready to claim its place among them, and nothing could stand in its way. The story of humans in the galaxy was just beginning, and it would be a story of courage, creativity, and unstoppable spirit. A story that no alien, no star, and no challenge could ever forget.